Is it Memorex? Isn't that an old commercial? Excuse the noise while I get the microphone in position here. All right. I think it's working. Cool. The first stupidity that I will... Well, let's just start addressing things. And welcome to Vlog Thursday, episode 150. I am Tom Lawrence, and I lost 2 people. I had 25 concurrent viewers, and now it's going down. Apparently, it's not as exciting. I just lost 5 people. It's going down. It's trending down now that I'm actually live. People are like, oh, he went live. I'm just here to be here until he goes live. But we're going to talk about this right here. I'm going to get this pulled up. Go over to the YouTube dashboard. Let's see. What am I looking for here? Go to the studio. I'll turn it on in a second so you can see. So we'll go, is this the right button? Yes, it is. There we go. So I did a video on what was in my laptop bag, and yeah, that's what this is. And I noticed everyone keeps wanting to know the same question in here. No serial cable, no crossover cable? What year is it, guys? Is there that much equipment that I'm just not seeing? And I thought I seen a lot of old equipment, but all these people are just same thing. It's, where's it at? There's a bunch of comments in here. One I don't understand. Oh, someone says you get the Maz Black Pack, carry a couplers, crossover cables, and things like that. But I mean, I have one right here. So yes, we possess these things. This is a USB, specifically works with a lot of the Cisco equipment console cable, but just a lot of stuff doesn't have it now. I mean, frequently I'm ripping out a lot of old equipment, so I'm not spending a lot of time, I guess, programming the old equipment that uses serial cables. So I thought that was weird. I just don't keep it in my bag. I haven't used it in a year or 2. It's been a while since I've had to use one. So it's just not a... Maybe it's just because I do so much pfSense. That's my guess. And before pfSense, I did other open source firewalls. I mean, you roll back, and I've been doing pfSense for a number of years. I did like Endian firewalls, and I did go back further, all the way back to Mandrake IP firewall, which was from 2001. But I always use web interfaces on them, or command line, SSH. And console, not really. I mean, I did at some point, especially when we were removing all the old Cisco things and stuff like that. I had to get in there and get config information from the old Cisco, but boy, it's been a while since I've had to do it. It's just not something I bother carrying because it's probably been a year or 2 since I've seen one. I do get job requests occasionally to fix that old stuff, but it's funny because there's a company that I don't know how we're on their mailing list. They kind of one of those we shop for techs and try to find jobs. And they're like, hey, we need a Cisco engineer to come out right away. It's an emergency. No problem. Here's our rate. And they go, oh, no, we want to pay less than 1/3 of that. We want a Cisco tech out there for $65 an hour that's very familiar with older Cisco iOS, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, good luck getting a Cisco guy out there for $65 an hour. On a short notice and willing to reset up VPNs between ASAs when one died and you got to not have the config and everything else. It's just a mess. So that I could be using it more, but I don't know. Yes, the Tandy on the teaser image. So I said console cable. That is also my favorite console that I had. First one, TRS-80. That's the same computer I owned as a child, or when I was younger. I don't know, I guess as a child. And yes, that's why I stuck it on there. We're talking about it because I was at a museum over there. So, let's go up and say hi to everyone. So hi from Sweden, hi from all over the place, all kinds of fun stuff. Why does my USG Pro 4 router with active IPS cannot block or download the eCar test file? Because IDS doesn't block eCar. That's why. You are conflating intrusion detection system with antiviruses. They are 2 separate technologies. They can be integrated into one device, but in the USG Pro 4, they are not. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, I mean, I got an old box filled with serial port and that have the RJ45. We got all kinds of that old stuff in boxes. It's just not often used. It's just rare. I don't know. I just don't see it much anymore. I don't know. That's all I gotta say. Apparently wherever the other people who are commenting are, or maybe they're in school and they're talking about that and like, oh yeah, you need these serial cables, and I'm like, I guess it doesn't. Maybe I just work with two newest stuff, and I'm not someone I generally think of us working with a lot of old archaic stuff here. But yeah, whatever. I'm not gonna babble too much about that. What do we have here? Sweden. Canada. Cisco parts. Yeah. Do you have a video on SG100 or equivalent showing how to configure the switch in VLANs? It's super confusing. Yes, I do, William. Thank you for the donation. And let me find that for you real quick. So I think it was going to be that I call it split VLAN is the question. Oh, look, if you were to Google SG1100 VLAN switch configuration, that is the title of it, and it's how to configure the VLANs on the SG1100. I also have one for the 7100, and I thought I did one specifically for the 1100. They're actually the same setup. But I wanted to be accurate because they're the same, but there's more options on the 7100 than there is on the 1100. So they're almost the same. So really close there. So yes, I do have a video on it. So that's definitely a thing. So hopefully that helps, William. And hopefully it's not, once you've read it, I also link to the documentation that pfSense has on there. Hopefully that saves any confusion. So there. That's a very orange super chat. Yes, apparently if you throw $20, you get an orange super chat. Please, just everyone try that as a theory. Like, everyone do it right now. Love the passion. Awesome, thank you. What is that saying about Googling? Okay, let me Google that for you. Yeah, let me Google that for you. No, that's fine. I don't mind answering questions to an extent, but that's I did that video because I agree with you. If you are not familiar with the way VLANs are done on when it's they call it router on a stick or system on a chip, essentially is what that is. They take the one chip and slice it into VLANs to make 3 logical ports on there. So that is there's an abstraction layer that becomes confusing. Oh, hold on, why is there a VLAN? Well, you're kind of nesting VLANs to make all that work. I think you're probably wondering about, well, how do I get 3 chips out of one? Doesn't that create a bottleneck? Well, yes, no. The chip is capable of 2.5 gigs, but the individual ports are only 1 gig. So at any given point, they would never be able to route more than that. But the reality is the processor in there can't route more than 700 roughly megs a second, so you never even hit the limitation anyways. It's a great device. It's one of I've recommended and talked to people as it's a great one to learn on because it's affordable, it's inexpensive. I know someone's going to say, but I have a cheap computer I'd rather load it on. Then go ahead and load it on there. But if you wanted a turnkey box to do testing with pfSense, you get the full version of pfSense on a box that's $200, and I have one at my house. I really like it. Aqua DB9 cable is part of my standard tools I carry around. I do maintain about 100 Cisco's. Now, if I was a Cisco engineer, especially an old Cisco engineer, like maintaining old equipment, not necessarily old in age for myself, yeah, I would have to have those because, yeah, that's common. Cisco's not my mainstay. We don't get a ton of Cisco work, and mostly we remove a lot of Cisco's from networks. Unless they're newer, then we keep them. But the newer ones are all IP configured. So, I mean, you have the backup option of going console in there. But yeah, smash that like button, folks. Yes, that would be great. In Cisco, it's Cisco terms router on a stick, but it wasn't meant to be logic. Yeah. Hello from NZ. Just bought a managed switch and learned how trying to find a serial cable with a PC with a serial cable port. Yeah, you're not going to. That's even why this one right here is USB. So that's the solution to that is why, and that's why we buy these as USB. Like I said, we do have them. We do run into the need for them every now and then with random devices. Because if I'm not mistaken, this works not just for Cisco, but a bunch of other companies use this same kind of RJ45 setup but it's actually serial. It's not network. This isn't a USB network adapter. It's a USB serial adapter. So how did I get a notification for that? I don't even signed in. Oh, cool. So I did get the new Pixel 4. That's what I'm holding right here. And so this is kind of cool. Oh, man, I got notifications and email. Oh, that's a really cool email. Anyways, I'll talk about that later. Not in this vlog, because I got to make sure it's real. Anyways, I did get the Pixel 4, and I'll do some videos on why I bought the Pixel 4, what I like and don't like about it. I know it sounds like it's a beaten to death, but I'm going to talk about why I like the Pixel 4. And there's someone that's going to be, raising the angry fist and going, but Google, privacy, ugh, and there's two of me. And let me explain that really quick. I've covered this before. I have a longer video called Protecting Digital You, but I divide my life up into different sections. And one of them is the section of my life that is my business. And that's what the Google universe supports and is very kind to the way it integrates to my business, versus there's the personal private me. And I only show, or only choose to share and show the world the narrative I want digitally. And from you create separations in there. So that's one of the things there. What is the difference between pfSense and OpenSense? There's a guy that made a video. Look at my forums. Because I don't use OpenSense. Someone else who does use OpenSense, they have a video they've done on it. And it's in my forums. Matter of fact, it's titled OpenSense versus pfSense. Pretty easy to find. So hopefully that helps on there. And that question has come up before, and I don't have any problems as long as the videos that are shared within my forums are of good quality and are related to the technology or improperly posted. I'm fine with them being in my forums. They're not a big deal to me on there, in case anyone's wondering. Because someone messaged me when a video got posted, like, well, isn't that competition? I'm like, what? Because someone did a video on a topic that I didn't cover? Not to mention, most people will watch a video on a topic that other people have already covered, including myself, because some people have a different opinion on it. So that's just it's a perspective. I don't mind. I'm not in fear of other people. I actually prefer to collaborate with them rather than try to say, no, I must shut down all others. I am the only voice here. That seems like a really not typical me way to look at things. I'm a very much open source and cooperative person. And then someone's going to point back to, but aren't you holding a Google data slurping device in your hand? Yes, that it has all my business information on it. I just don't put personal information about me that I don't want out there into devices that share out data. That's, yeah. So that's, to keep it simple. How they got hacked tomorrow? Yes, we should be having how they got hacked tomorrow. I don't see any reason why not. To my knowledge, Xavier is well and able to participate. I will be confirming that with him. That being said, I only got my phone an hour before this started, and one of the challenges right now is all my stuff is not synced. I have all the apps loaded, but I have to, because I use encrypted communications for things. Not like I use Keybase and I use Signal. That's my two primary ways I communicate with people like Xavier and my other hacking friends or tech friends. Therefore, I can't communicate with them at the moment right here. I can still log into it from my laptop, so I can do that, but yeah. Any suggestions on how to open ports publicly while being double natted? Joseph, you're going to have to get a little more specific than that. I don't know why you need the ports open, so you have to tell me the why and the what before I can tell you which ports to open. So you want to open a web server, so port 443. Also, are you double natted and do you have control of both firewalls? That's a real valid question, because if you go, I'd love to open a port, but I don't have a port to open because I'm not in control of the firewall, then you're out of luck right there. And what happens, open both is the kind of basic answer for it. Just you open both ports, but I'm assuming you're asking because there's something more to it. For example, a lot of the WISP providers don't have large blocks of public IPs available, so you get charged a premium if you want a public IP. If not, they hand you a private IP. And I have friends that are on WISP and they can't open any ports at all because of that. There's not, matter of fact, some of the smaller WISPs in a very rural area, that doesn't seem to be an option. They're double natted, and that's that. That's what they get. Yeah. If your ISP is leasing you private subnet and you don't have control of the firewall, you can't open ports. It's as simple as that. There's not another option. What's going on with CCNA/P? I don't know what's going on with it. I have 0 certifications. I'm just going to be straight up honest. So I can't answer that question with any real answer for you. That's about it. I don't. Is there? I think there's probably not anything that in this video I can think of that you want to know about the Pixel 4. Ooh, wow, that's cool. It looks cool. Blah 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 blah. I don't know how much I'm going to really dig into it. Not in this video, anyways. But I probably I'll cover the apps I use on. I think there's probably some interest in that, which is going to be like Keybase and Signal, which I've talked about both of those before. And what else? The Tesla app. I still use Zoiper, but I'm looking at using. There's a new app that's out. Well, not new. It's just less beta than it was before. We use FreePBX, and Sangoma has the name of it eludes me at the moment, but it's their new Zulu, I think is what it's called, ZULU. Their new app they have that for phone communication that I might start using on there. And I need to do some updated FreePBX videos to talk about communication. I just don't want to get pigeonholed into people thinking that I do a bunch of phone support. I still throw that over at Chris. We're just not, we're firewall people. Phone is so-so. It's not a mainstay of support for us. Does pfSense have support for USB failover? I think it does. I've never used it. If we have customers with failover, we put the device in front of or on a secondary WAN port of the pfSense. So it depends on what you want to do. Now, pfSense, and not a lot of firewalls are, I did see Untangle has a new offering about this. I have not looked at it, but SD-WAN. And SD-WAN is better than your usual failover. And it also is confusing to people about how SD-WAN isn't just failover. And let me explain. When you do something that's SD-WAN versus failover. So failover means I'm on WAN 1 and WAN 2, two different providers, whether one's cellular and one's fiber, cable, DSL, whatever, and the other one, let's say, is a cellular backup. However that backup needs to be, there is a route that everything has to favor, or you can load balance it. But generally, you have the faster one being the favored route, so you set that at tier 1, and you say, everything route over here, until it can't. Then you fail over to the secondary WAN port. But what happens when you fail over the secondary WAN port is there's a disruption that the users become very aware of. There is a series of hops that start from their computer through the pfSense, through the original WAN port, through all the hops that made it to whatever website they were going to, whatever resource remotely internet they were connecting to, and now you have chose to stop that connection. That connection will then reroute and reestablish out over the next one. But those states now have to be reestablished, including the handshakes have to occur again, the security certificate handshake has to occur again, and the data packets, if they were UDP, have to realize that there was some drops because UDP will keep streaming to Never Never Land, and so it has to then reestablish over here. SD-WAN solves that by combining the two together through a tunnel, and then you're one layer deeper is the SD-WAN. So the SD-WAN's working as a link layer with two devices bonded together, so when one fails, it's seamless. It's just elastically changing the pipe. So pfSense is not an SD-WAN product, but it does support failover. Cellular failover, there is a limited amount of support for. I don't have a lot of familiarity with it. Our general solution is to put something upstream of the pfSense or on the secondary WAN port. Hopefully that helps. It's a long explanation, but I want to make sure I'm accurate on that. Good security cameras for better than UniFi, cheaper than UniFi anyways. I've reviewed the Reolink cameras. I have a link to them in our kit. I've reviewed them with the Synology. I think they're great. They don't work with the UniFi system, of course. They're going to work with any other system. I've done a review on the Synology system. We've deployed a lot of Synology systems. They work really well. Yeah, Hikvision, Reolink. There's one more brand that we like. I have them over there, and I got to dig one out. We've been testing a few of them. I've been really impressed with the Reolink. I mean, the Hikvision aren't bad either, but the Reolink are surprisingly crispy. It depends which model you get, and I have the links to the models we've deployed for some of the clients because we were just really impressed with them. So, yeah, Synology works with like 7,100 different cameras. That sounds accurate. They have an insane amount of camera support. They are very flexible on what they can support in cameras, which is one of the reasons we've really liked them. So, and like I said, you can mix and match too. You don't have to go with all one brand. You can say, I like the way this model Hikvision looks over here. I like the way this Reolink looks over here, whatever your use case is. Or maybe you need higher res in some places and lower res in others. So I'm going to turn off the notices here. There we go. Cool. Do you think that do you think as a tech IT channel that revealing how your company works poses a threat for you, for your competitors as a result? Not at all. None. I don't think it at all. Matter of fact, if you can just watch what I do and do it better, hats off. That's a good challenge. I'm not bragging or anything. This is just, I don't think being secret about your business process, even like Tesla, I'll use them as a global big company example who releases their patents. You can obviously reverse engineer their car, but look at the car companies trying to compete with them and how hard that is, even knowing as much as they know, including, books about, more than one book about the company, about the CEO. That's like a myth. And it's always, there's a lot of people who start a business, and I hate this. I tell them to go away. And I'm sometimes not even nice about it anymore because I get a little jaded on this. I have the next big idea, but I need you to sign an NDA before I can talk about it. And my thing is the same. I say to them, it's my smart ass answer is ideas are cheap. Ideas are easy. Everyone has ideas. Execution is everything. Execution is everything. And you'll hear some of the, if you look at, if you follow like the hyped up entrepreneurs like, Gary Vee and all that, he'll tell you it's all execution, execution, execution. So that's why I'm not worried about showing what we do. I think more people would get better in IT. I like when I share my ideas and people maybe challenge those ideas. Maybe I'm wrong about them. So I think by sharing ideas, and this is how Linux works, and open source as a whole, which is my topics for today, the more you share out into the community and have your ideas challenged, you either end up validating them or invalidating them, but you're doing it against the crowd and you're getting a better perspective overall. So to me, sharing is actually at the same time what people consider sharing intellectual property that my competitors should use to get better and get an edge on me. The other side of that is it just doesn't work that way in reality. That is a mentality a lot of people have, but it's just not how the reality of it works. So it's nothing I'm worried about. And matter of fact, yeah, security through obscurity with a different face. Yeah, it's that too. It's one of those things. And the reality is if I share stuff out and other people kind of get inspired to share out as well, that's just a good thing. And then the market gets better because even if both of us at the same time, me and my competitor, level up consistently, it's a challenge for us. The customers win because they're getting a better quality service from both of us at different levels. So these are things that make it better overall for the market. Let's see, what do we got here? Have you had any security analysis of Reolink? Does it talk to strange servers? You generally want to put, if you're ever worried about it, put them all on a separate VLAN. That's just the general rule of thumb. Put them on a separate VLAN. Don't stick them on with the other equipment. That way they don't need internet access. So don't give them it. Just give them all on one VLAN. There's two, most Synologies have two network ports, so you design it like that, and away you go. It's a really simple process. What do you think about the new N-base T standards, 2.5 gig, 5 gig for NAS systems, and low-cost networking switches? I too little, too late. The 10 gig ones are getting cheaper. So as the price drops on them before the market saturation on the 2.5 gig switches, if I see someone release an inexpensive one, that would be cool. And the only people who, I mean, you can get a 10 gig, and one of these days maybe I'll buy one to review it. I don't know. But MikroTik makes some inexpensive ones. I won't lie, that is my one use case for them, is people who go, hey, I need like a 10 gig switch that's really, really, really cheap. MikroTik, they do make some really inexpensive 10 gig switches. But for not a ton more, you get like some of the UniFi lines that have 10 gig ones on there. I know it's not dirt cheap at all, but you're also talking about you want 10 gig throughput on an RJ45. The network cards are like $80 for a 10 gig network card. And by the way, those 10 gig network cards, like I have the Asus one on my computer, they're backwards compatible with 5 and 2.5. It supports those standards and the 10 gig standard. So it does, from 10 to 100 to 1 gig, 2.5, 5, and then 10 gig all the way up. And that's an 80, I think you can find those on Amazon for $85. They're not crazy expensive. So get the right Synology. Mine has got the Grunt-Waplex transmission, a couple packages running. Yeah. So the MikroTik, the MikroTik's been on top of their security issues. I mean, they're not terrible about it. And most of the security issues were misconfigurations, and those don't affect you if you're running them as a switch. They were router configuration problems, not switch configuration problems. That I know of, and there could be that I say that I know of, go to look for CVEs. There may be some flaw in some of their switching equipment. I'm not familiar with any of them off the top of my head. So that's pretty straightforward there. I appreciate it, George. My only problem is I don't know when I would be able to review it, so hold off on that. So I do appreciate the offer, George, of sending me one. If I had all the time in the world, because I was just on Tech Supply Direct, one of our partners that I have referral links for. They actually have a whole lot of servers they'd love to send me to review. I just need to find the time to review them. I was like, hold up, guys. As much as I would love a stack of cool stuff coming here, hold up, because I don't have time to review them at the moment. So it's on my to-do list to do those. And I want to do a few more server reviews of different equipment. They're going to send me a variety of it, but I have to get a few things sorted out, which is always my challenge of sorting things out. Matter of fact, which you can't see is this table is covered in paper of all kinds of, what is this one? Because I don't know if I can show these. I can't. There's paper. I organized some things, and it's just the paper gets behind, and it's business function stuff, and there's like a few of them over here and a few over here, and I pushed them just out of the edge of camera so they could do it. Matter of fact, if you didn't tell, this camera's really wide. That's why I'm able to do that. So I'm able to go, hey. It's actually, it's a confusing perspective to use a wide-angle camera because you think things are further or closer than they were. So UniFi has done more 10G. They have the new and the Gen 2, so Gen 2 switch. Let's find these together. So the Gen 2, I gotta order. I think we've already ordered these, but right here, here's 4. Count them: 1, 2, 3, 4 10 gig ports on this thing. So yes, they have come up with more models that have 10 gig on them. Let's see, this one. Does this one have it? Yeah, there's 2. Oh no, is there only 1? Okay, there's 1 and a 10 gig. So there's 1 10 gig port on the USW Pro 24E Gen 2, and this one has 4 10 gig ports on there. So yes, there are more switches that they have that have 10 gig. They just don't have any of the small basic ones out there. So gaming hardware? Is it nice hardware, exaggerated hardware? So the gaming systems, I'm not a true expert on them, but generally speaking, what you get with a gaming system is just a lot more tunables on there. So they make a pretty high quality product. They generally seem to be well built, but they generally like to open up all the options for tuning, tweaking, overvolting a processor. These are, when you look at a gaming motherboard and you look at the BIOS compared to some business boring desktop or boring business laptop, you'll find an absolute lack of tunable options in them, because these are basically expected to open them up and run them and use them, versus you get a gaming one, you may want to tweak this, tweak that, up the voltage on the processor, change the clock speed, overclock it. So you're just going to get more features for doing things like that. So you can, and it's a really popular market. If I was more into it, obviously it's actually a bigger market than what I do videos on. That's why these people who have some of these gaming channels, not gaming extents and streamers, but people who do builds like Paul's Hardware, Jay's 2 Cents, and some of those channels are so popular because there's so much involved in tweaking it. It makes for a lot of good content, and it's a lot to talk about. So there's like a never-ending amount of content that is coming out of them, and they have some good videos on that. So yeah. So it's faster because you can make it faster at the risk of making it less stable. Business goes for stable and boring because we just care about things working in the business and not having to deal with a bunch of drama. Retro machines, it's 2 and 4 ports. Okay. You assume I'm self-taught in Linux, however your staff recommended books, training, programs, instructions? Yes. IT Pro TV. We have an affiliate link for them. And I got to do, people get mad, and I seen someone complaining because I mentioned them in some of my videos. And I'm like, look, guys, it pays the bills. But I'm not being paid to talk about them. I'm getting paid on an affiliate link only if you sign up. IT Pro TV has complete Linux training classes. We use their accounts here. My staff learns through IT Pro TV. So you definitely can learn a lot from them. Their classes are pretty affordable. They even have help with getting certifications for those of you that are pursuing because of your career choices that where you need a certification path. They have all that. So check them out. They give you a free trial, and they're pretty inexpensive. They're a lot cheaper than college. And as far as just learning Linux, pick a project you want to do and work towards that goal. Pick something like, I want to set up a server doing this, and then do everything you can to work towards that goal, and you'll incidentally learn all the components to get there. That's generally kind of the tech journey for learning really anything. Start with the goal, what do you want to do, and then start piecing all the knowledge components you need to reach said goal. Cisco or UniFi, depends on the situation. Generally UniFi for a lot of small business. There are things that Cisco does that UniFi doesn't. There are facts there. So, but for the most part, we just deploy UniFi in all the small business work we do, even some of the medium and sized business work we do. Seeing your videos with Ubiquiti and pfSense, do you integrate with Ubiquiti's SG or skip the feature it gives you? Yeah, we don't use the USGs. We pretty much, they're just too basic. Outside of basic clients that just need internet and routing, they fall flat in terms of features. They're not a terrible product, but they're certainly not a very featureful product. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have some, you can't really say there's no way around Cisco, but Cisco, Juniper, there's a few others, Palo Alto, there's a handful of other high-end switching companies out there that compete with Cisco at their level, if not better. Palo Alto's been around a long time. They're really popular. Even, I'm not as big of a fan of them, but like Junipers are definitely another company that competes at the same level as Cisco. And when you go into 10 gig switching, Cisco's not the big dog in town at all. When you get into the 10 gig, 40 gig, fiber channel, FC systems, I can't remember the name of the company that dominates that. I think it's like Quanta or something. There's a couple other companies that you don't hear of down in the smaller markets that are in the data center level doing these high-end 10 gig switching. Cisco's not the big name at all there. So let's see. Can you do a video on how to port forward to from a fully qualified domain name in pfSense? You have it wrong. You don't port forward to fully qualified domain names. You're conflating a couple terms there. You can point a fully qualified domain name at pfSense at its WAN IP address, and then you open ports on pfSense, but it's not the domain pointed towards the port. Yeah, Cisco Nexus is some of the big stuff there, but they're not the biggest. It's kind of interesting. I mean, Cisco, don't get me wrong, they have a massive market play, and if you want to go dive deep into some of the interesting stuff, is not everybody knows that Facebook book top of rack switch. Let me find these here. This is something. Not everybody knows, but yes, Facebook engineering. They designed a lot of their own fabric, switching fabric. And this is actually an older, this is what from, I look in the post, well, we can just jump to there, but Facebook subscribes to the open hardware process and policies for this. So they actually build their own custom equipment for this, including some of their switching fabric because of their needs. Like this is a 4x25 gig QSFP28 to connect, but they're showing how their switching fabric works. Now, the history behind this is really interesting, and they actually worked, I met and interviewed some of the people from the Azure team that also use these same thing. They work together building these switching fabric designs, and it's open source. It's part of the Open Hardware Initiative. And what these companies have realized, speaking of big data companies, they came to the realization that the secret sauce isn't our data centers at all. Back to that earlier question someone had. The secret sauce isn't the data centers. The secret sauce is all the data. And sharing that knowledge of how we build our data center means my data center got better, and you share how you built your data center, and my data center got better, and now we can collect more data on all these people and monetize their existence, because that's how we actually make money, is monetizing people's existence, not building data centers. Once that kind of got, they won't share personal data with each other unless there's a fee involved for extraction, and Facebook does it by essentially you pay to run queries against their data, so you can do ad targeting, etc. But their racks and everything else are open and designed that way so you can do it. Now, one of the challenges that they face, and this is both Azure and Facebook, and of course Google too, they had a challenge of Cisco and all these big name companies couldn't make some of the processing power at the levels they're at, because you're kind of thinking about this. You have to engineer something that you want a group of people to buy, even if it's expensive. Facebook and Azure and some of these large data centers aren't a group of people. They're moving data and packets at a level no other three companies combined move data at because of their sheer scale. And so they have different challenges of what they have to do. So they got into designing a lot of their own hardware. So that's how it's kind of cool to dig into all that. Let's see. I think Dell makes really solid switches. Yeah, Dells are okay. With pfSense 2.5 and updates, do you do your own testing for rolling out? Yeah, we always roll it out to ourselves first. And we won't roll out 2.5 on pfSense until it's readily done, like until it's full production. And there's a crossover. They keep supporting the 2.4 series a while before the 2.5 series. So the first day 2.5 comes out, we don't necessarily do it. But pfSense is also a very conservative company when it comes to their release cycles. That's one of the reasons people ask me all the time about, oh, why can't you centrally manage pfSense, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all the updates come at the same time for pfSense. So if my firewall needs an update to the new version, so does every client that needs an update to the new version. That's how pfSense works. It doesn't go, oh, Tom, you have this model, therefore it needs an update. No, the update is to the software platform. Therefore, all the updates need to be done at once, and we just schedule them as such with a list of our clients who have pfSense. So yeah, Facebook does have, if you look, speaking of one transformer, so from a design, let's talk a little engineering here. Power comes in, 120 volt or 240, depending on where you're at. A lot of data centers and some of the other stuff that do run on 240 because there's a efficiency in the conversion of 240 versus the conversion efficiency of 120 volts. Higher voltage converts better. That's also why it transports better. The other side of that is, think about this. You have a series of power supplies in each one of the pieces of equipment that make up a server rack, and each one of them converts a 120 volt source either to a 12 or 5 volt rail to drive the devices inside. So you have a lot of redundancy going on, and even a gold rated power supply only has a 90% efficiency rating. But then you're losing it because you're, all these individual things. Facebook and Google's actually the ones who pioneered this. Google said, why don't we run DC in a data center? The reason you run AC is because long distance transmission lines. The reason you run DC, we don't have to convert it again, but it doesn't transmit very far. Well, you're not talking about great distances. So they put one single transformer in the Facebook rack, and I have a video that you can find of this. And then the other devices are powered off of the DC rails that go in. And now you can power all these devices off of a transformer, or in the case of redundancy, 2 transformers with 2 separate feeds coming in, but then it powers everything inside of there in a interleaving type way for redundancy in case one of those fails. It's a really impressive design, and it brings forth a lot of efficiency because what's the first thing you see a fan in? All the power supplies. So now you've just reduced the number of spinning fans. Now you've reduced the serviceness of, I think I hear a fan making noise in one of the 9 devices mounted in this rack. No, there's only one with the fan for that. And then step it further, they've looked at some of the liquid cooling, blah, blah, blah. So there's going to be some more of thermal efficiencies, because if we don't have to move it through the power supply, we have less heat. Now we only have to move it once through the processor, etc. So it's kind of a cool, from an engineering standpoint, to make that change to a DC system. But we don't have enough clear standards on it yet to where we all can just plug in my rack to a bunch of power supplies like that. Any experience with GNS3? Nope. Do we still use free PBX? We do. We moved it to a piece of hardware because I wanted to try one of the Sangoma boxes, and they're inexpensive. Because it came with all the licensing. Matter of fact, you can get the Sangoma boxes are like $600 or $700 with all the licenses for all the bells and whistles and extra features. I do really like it. It works great. PFSense in a KVM, and then I can clone an image VM, create snapshots. The thing about running in a VM, it's fine to run, but there are quirks you'll run into about Alt-Q traffic shaping and problems like that. But that being said, for my lab, I don't care, so it runs great. For me, I run a physical piece of hardware. I just did a video. We switched over to the SG5100 specifically because I didn't have a netgate box. And just out of frame behind me next to that Cisco phone is an old HP server that was my HP Xeon, that was my previous PFSense. And I just want to go with a genuine netgate box. That thing is high wattage and old with a lot of fans in it that aren't making any noise, but I know they will. And what we do is we buy 2 firewalls for critical systems, including ours. So I have 2 5100s, one plugged in and hooked up, and one loaded with the proper image, the latest config file. Well, it doesn't have it loaded yet. I got to do that as it just came today, but away we go. And yeah, netgates are not cheap. Overpriced is subjective. They're not going to be the cheapest boxes. I know they are super well supported, and when you're doing remote updates, they're hard to beat. Now, it doesn't mean we don't have some customers running custom equipment and things like that, but I just know that there's no issues when you have it set up that way, like with a netgate box. I know the updates are going to work. I know when 2.5 comes out, there'll be no compatibility issues. I know going from 2.3 to 2.4, I ran into some of those little like solid Quoton boxes that just didn't like the update. And a couple of them I found out you had to pass some kernel parameters to get them to boot properly, that you have to make sure you put those in before you reboot again if you do another major update on them. So you have to make sure of those things if you're using, it doesn't always happen, but it can happen. For our business clients, downtime is way more expensive than any money I may save, because you're like, oh, I paid $200 more for netgate. I could have paid $200 less for something else. Downtime is way more expensive than $200, and so is my service calls. Our rates are published on our website. We charge $200 an hour. You're not saving anybody anything if I have to go out there and one of my techs is out there. So from a home user perspective, yeah, go build your own, dude. Go buy the cheapest hardware, especially when you're a home user and you're playing. Way more sense. And you're a home user. You're probably setting it up at home, and if you did an update, you're there physically at it to reload it. Or even if you run your own IT because you are an IT director of a company, buy 2 of whatever inexpensive device and keep them in there. Put them in HA mode. That makes sense. For us, when we're distributing and managing from our office, many remote locations, that's why we buy the Netgate devices. Oh, what do we have here? Dell 620s and HA. Yeah. And Dell H20 6A, not a bad idea. Oh, you got the LG Gram set up. That's awesome. Just had to find a sneaky spot in the BIOS. Cool. pfSense does not have a central portal that you can host. You can put it in Zabbix or Nagios. We use it in Zabbix to monitor it, so that's possible if you're looking for centralization. So, yeah, like I said, I have and I'm going to do a video on this server. A few people asked about it. I'm going to do, because someone thinks it'll be blasphemy and I don't do these videos anymore, but I do them. I've got a video. One of my most popular videos on pfSense is getting started with pfSense on regular hardware. I'm going to be doing a new version of that video, and I'm going to do it on hardware, not even a pfSense box. I know people are going to be, oh my gosh, is Tom betraying Netgate? No, I want people to use pfSense. I don't mind when people build it. I do like myself to buy Netgate hardware, but I'm not. By the way, if you notice, I have 0 affiliate links for Netgate hardware. They don't have a reseller plan that I found compelling at all, so we don't resell it. You can't buy it through me. Matter of fact, when people call me for buying Netgate appliances, I send them to the website. Why do I want to buy it through you? No problem. Just add 20%. Oh. I'm like, yeah, I don't sell them at the same price. I'm buying them from Netgate at the price you pay for them. So, hey, you know, I just mark them up. That's our thing. We mark hardware up 20%, which means you probably should have bought it direct. Oh, that's interesting. So Control-Alt-F7 unlocks a more advanced mode of the BIOS in the LG and lets you change the settings. Zero, I was talking about, he had, if you look it up, the LG Gram, it's called a Gram because I think it weighs a gram or something. I don't know. It's really, really lightweight laptop, and he was loading Linux on it, so that's kind of cool. You should do that and do HA setup. I have 2 videos on HA setup, so I don't think I need to do a 3rd video on HA setup. I don't know. I don't think I missed anything in the first 2. One is a conceptual video doing it with 2 virtual machines. The other one is doing it with hardware in the real world with 2 physical devices. I think that's enough HA videos for now, unless they make some changes to HA. So I do have 2 pfSense HA videos. Saw you made a video. I don't know of anyone. That company itself is open source. I think they let you download the server-side code, but I don't know. The tools themselves are all open source. The central server it talks to, I think you can rewrite. I think they have it on GitHub. Their business model is paying for hosting, but you can clone. I think everything about that project was on GitHub. So I haven't checked that project in a while. It's one of those ain't broke, don't fix it. It gets deployed and just works, so we leave it alone. And it's so inexpensive. Like, they're charging like a few dollars. It comes out to be so like inexpensive to host for a business. It's like no big deal. Just let them deal with it. Any issues with Chelsea Next causing Windows to be SOD? I have no idea because I've never used Chelsea I/O cards in Windows, so I can't answer that question. I think you've asked that before, or at least 3 or 4 people have. I don't use Windows servers with Chelsea I/O 10 gig cards. Every Windows server we run is 99% of the time going to be running on an Intel card, and if it is Intel, and let's say it's in a Dell, it's going to be like the Intel 520 10 gig card if it has a 10 gig card in it. So they're just the most trouble-free ones. They always work. That's why I use them. People always ask me, what about those? Yeah, if you want problems, go for it. If you want ones that work. Now, I have installed the Chelsea I/O cards, and I still have them installed in my FreeNAS. Works fine in FreeNAS. So it works fine in, can't say fine, works good in XCP-ng, but XCP-ng, this is a driver problem that has not been resolved, and I don't know that it ever will be. XCP-ng hosts can connect at 10 gig. But the underlying operating systems cannot connect at 10 gig through that card. So it just doesn't work. And I've never looked into why. I know I have another machine with a 10 gig Intel and it works perfectly fine. Cool. Other people saying that they work fine. Thank you for answering that because I don't use it. So is there an alternative to not that I'm aware of? I think the UniFi XG is... Let's look for that product over here. As I think that one's discontinued, right? Yeah. They're not even listed on here. They got this. And they got the Pro. Yeah, but they got rid of the 10 gig one. So I guess the question is, are you looking for something that's 10 gig? Is that what you're looking for? I mean, awesome that you're got, and here's the part. I don't know why you would want a, I mean, do you have 10 gigs of internet? Is that, you have that need for that level of switching? I'm just curious. Most people don't have over gigabit, but. Cool. Yeah, smash the like button. Thanks, Michael. There's 218 of you today. That's great. There's more here than there was on Thanksgiving. There was a lot of people on Thanksgiving. Wasn't that last week? I can't remember now. It's all just a blur. It's all just keeps, the days all just roll on into each other. Anyways, what else do I talk about? Open source in business. I want to do a few more videos on the topic of using open source for business. It's one of those things where it comes down to, I want to retain as much control over the tools I use as possible. And what I mean by that, and let's talk about Invoice Ninja. There's not a kill switch that could be clicked in Invoice Ninja by the Invoice Ninja people, because I host it myself. I retain all my data. And this is one of those things like, how much of your infrastructure or even your computer do you own? If you're running Windows, well, Microsoft has a license server. If you block access to that license server, and I've seen people do this, Windows will start having problems. Windows is tied to that licensing server, so you don't own the software on your computer. It's just a mental thing with me, but other businesses look at it as a business risk because they try to have predictable budgets. And occasionally these companies, they know you're embedded with them, they raise license fees. And you don't have any options once you've integrated them, especially the level of integration businesses have to do to have process and workflow that requires these tools. And now those tools just said, we're charging you more. And sometimes the question is, do you get any more features for more? No. You just are going to be charged more. They just decided this. And I get it. There is a need to keep the developers working, but the open source model works to me so much better. Here I am running a completely open source desktop and open source platform that I use for editing, that I donate money to on a regular basis, that people are getting paid to work on, and the system works despite not having a license fee and business model. It goes against all the concepts a lot of people have about business. That's why it's so hard for people to, in business especially, to grasp it, especially the old school people. They don't understand how the open source movement happened. They don't understand the book that was written by Eric Raymond, The Cathedral and the Bazaar, and they don't understand the desire people who write code have to just have their code used as an exciting piece of it. Now, not that I'm saying that's not payment enough because they still got bills to pay like all of us do, but how that works. And even the more awakening that's occurred recently is the fact that, hold on, Red Hat just got bought for $36 billion, billion with a B. What does that mean? Red Hat gives away software, provides support for software. So there's still plenty of opportunity to make money in that market space by providing support. How much money? Red Hat got bought for $36 billion. Like, if that isn't, there's been plenty of other acquisitions, just none that I can think of at the scale of Red Hat for a company that actually, think about this from any other software company, they're giving away all the software they write. Pretty much. I mean, they have some things, they do have some, paid support type licenses and stuff like that for, but they're giving away the whole line of software and just providing support packages and making a lot of money at it. They're publicly traded. They have all the other key performance indicators that you have for a business about making money and everything else. They've been around for 20 years. They're not some startup that started yesterday that's floating on venture capital. So there's a lot more to it than people think. And it's, to me, a better way to do it because you gain more control, more autonomy over the things that run your business, which is something I think a lot about, is even as small as my company is compared to some of these other people. Let me catch up with all the questions while you guys are typing a lot today. How do you remotely manage pfSense? SSH and VPN filtered towards our IP address. So we can only access it through our IP address. I've got, I think, a couple videos on it, how you can use Pivot with SSH tunneling is a real easy way to do it. Tunnel, I don't use zero tier. Tunnels, though, yes. Yeah, if you do editing in Premiere, I'm not a Premiere person. My entire channel here is completely built on using 99% of all the videos are all built using Kdenlive open source tools and then GIMP. Yes, I took the time. No, GIMP isn't Photoshop. I don't care who says that. As much as you want to say you can just use GIMP. No, I don't say that lightly. I took the time to learn GIMP. I was a long time Photoshop person. That was painful learning GIMP. It was not easy. It was hours of aggravation and tutorials on YouTube to get to where I can use GIMP to do anything productive in it. It's definitely not. It's not. Kdenlive, on the other hand, went from a crash monster to a really stable product over the last couple of years. So I'm really happy about that. People fear open source because they don't understand it. That would be a good point. Yes, we currently we're CSP with AppRiver, Lars. That's how we're doing it now. But we're looking at changing. We might move over to Tech Data. We're looking at changing partners on it. We haven't decided. I doubt anyone from AppRiver's watching. Yeah, don't expose pfSense's web UI with the internet. That's not good. Do you know of any open source or at least free to be able to copy files from one network to another? SyncThing, absolutely wonderful open source product. So SyncThing is how we handle moving data between systems without having to create an attack surface of publicly exposed file sharing. Oh, my webinar. Someone already seen I'm doing a webinar with Huntress. Yeah, the word is out. That's coming up Tuesday. That's exciting. I'm going to be there. I'm flying out there, so that's going to be fun. It's a way more complicated ask about does Linux have the potential to overtake Windows in business as it has in consumer operating systems. It already has for startups, and it won't for legacy companies. And let me explain. For startups, no one is writing the next killer app for Windows. Sorry, they're not doing it. No one is pitching a startup and asking for some VC capital to get their, they're not asking for all that sweet VC money to build that next Windows deeply tied to application. They're all building them web applications. Web applications do not run on Windows. Web applications run on Linux. Therefore, Linux is taking over completely in the business market to all these new companies because they realize it's a pain in the butt dealing with Windows updates. It's a pain in the butt dealing with, especially Windows is a moving target. Every 6 months, it has an iterative update and adds features or changes something that you then have to make modifications to your product. Now, granted, the web changes and web standards change, but they generally are adding more to, and of course, you have to stay with security technologies, but you're not trying to deploy that to a lot of different configurations. So more and more apps become web enabled. Look at the power of XCP-ng. It is an entire hypervisor management application that all works through a web interface that I can control everything. Many high-end applications. We've seen this with some of the our multiple insurance companies. And what I mean by they're the independent insurance agencies. They will like resell for all the different other carriers, they don't have applications on their desktop. They all log into web portals to get quotes for your Progressive, your Geico, etc., whatever insurance provider you choose. They quote you on them all through quoting systems, rating systems that are all web enabled. That means they can use a Chromebook or anything, as long as it can print, I should say. So I can't just say use a Chromebook, but you get the idea. They suddenly don't have a need for a desktop application. Therefore, we could eventually see Linux being there, but you're not going to see these old legacy companies move that way because, well, the long tail of legacy companies will keep doing things until the pain of doing it causes them a problem. If it's not, if they can continue to make money using crappy software that runs directly on their computers, even if it is not great, as long as it's good enough to keep them competitive, they won't spend the money to change. So it won't necessarily take over in the way people think. The gaming community is getting sick of Windows for sure, so that's why we're seeing so much push on the gaming side towards that. That's probably going to be more the consumers driving that side of the development on there. Oh, let's see. How do you contribute to the open source community? A couple ways. Are you asking how I personally do it or how you can do it? Either answer. Creating documentation, replying in forums. I'm not much of a coder, so I would not say help out with coding because I don't think I would be helping. I may be hindering, but I do report bugs in systems. I will do bug reports. I do videos on open source product that often raise popularity if it's a product I like and I use, and it brings attention. Excuse me. It brings attention to that product, and that technically is a way by which you can contribute back to a product. And sometimes there's just simple things you can do. Help create documentation. There's a call for documentation creation over on the XCPNG. Their wiki has some gaps. I've looked at it myself, and I may fill in some of those gaps and just write some of the documentation for it because I know how it works. So there's a lot of ways you can contribute. I also just throw money at things. They call them Caden Live. It's been a regular. I have some things Caden Live has sent me because I donate to you donate to KDE Foundation that then distribute it to Caden Live. So sometimes I literally just throw money at it because I can. It sometimes is an easy way for me to go, there we go, throw money that way. I like that project. Here you guys go. Have beer on me. I've also reached out to developers and sent them stuff. I had a call from a developer from a long time ago from a really old video I have. I donated, I don't know, $300 or $400 at a person because I was just happy with it was just simple one-person project, and my donation wasn't even to a team. It was just to one individual. And I've corresponded with them on and off over the years because of that. They said, hey, you actually gave me a lot of money. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I said, your product was great. We don't use it anymore. It's a defunct project. It was for imaging computers as a plug-in for FreeNAS. It was great at the time. We don't really use it anymore, though. AppRiver acquisition by Zix. Yeah, it happened. I don't know. I haven't noticed anything better or worse about it. I would say no change. We get more mailers that say, welcome to Zix and blah, blah, blah. We also got a little football that says Zix on it. They sent us some swag, BS things in a box. So that I noticed that. Other than that, no other issues. No better, no worse. Pax8's another one out there. Where did the color computer go? I lost it a long time ago. That's an old picture. I don't hoard electronics. Once I'm done with them, I get rid of them. But I did have that's not a picture of mine because when I got rid of mine, it was the 80s, and I don't even have a picture from the 80s of mine. But that is the same model I had and learned most of my stuff on. I had the tape drive that I got it. It was probably mid-'80s, later '80s, when it was being clearanced, when it was being deprecated. That's when I got into it. And at the time, I would have been 12 years old, 11 years old, and I really got into programming and everything on it. So yeah, I'm still using Invoice Ninja. Is there a big difference between 1, 2, and 3? I don't know. I have not done subjective testing on it. I don't remember what size these are. I think these are the 3. I'm pretty sure these are the 3-inch ones. I just said the price difference wasn't substantial, and we just said, screw it, we'll put the bigger ones on there. I imagine they do work better being bigger, but I can't subjectively tell you that because I have not done A/B testing on it. Did I miss the talk about console cables? It was mostly, yes, it was at the beginning. It's live streamed and recorded. All I said was that, yes, I have console cables. They do exist within my office. They just are very, very infrequently used. We just don't really... and someone pointed out, well, you're not doing a bunch of Cisco stuff. Exactly why I don't use them all the time. If I was doing Cisco all the time, you're right, I'd be using that. That'd be pretty common. So I guess that answers that question. What else do we have for questions? I'm a home user with pfSense UniFi switches and UniFi APs. Is there anything to consider? I don't know. It kind of depends on what you want to do. I mean, you want to go crazy? Learn OSAC. You know, get a HID system, learn OSAC or Wazoo. Wazoo's really good. Go a step further, get Security Onion and integrate Wazoo right into Security Onion with Suricata and feeds, and then dump all your logs to it with full sniffing. I don't know. I don't know where your skill level is to say what you want to do. Those are real advanced tools. They're very complicated to set up. But they're a great learning experience. Just dive into Security Onion in every aspect of it, and you'll learn all the tools I just mentioned all in one house. So, yeah, what's up the wazoo? It's just check out Security Onions. Yeah, so we still use SolarWinds for all of our RMM tools. I'm still happy with it. It works. Ain't broke, don't fix it. Oh, yeah, welcome to Amazon losing stuff. It happens. Yeah, nothing I can do about that. Yeah, found a Pentium with a serial port. You're going to find some of them old ones. I'm happy not to be using most of those, so that's fine by me. Cool. Auto task endpoint management. Yeah, maybe built on some open source, but there's none of them that are fully open source that I'm aware of in the RMM tool space. And one of the reasons we stay with SolarWinds is because all their licensing is inclusive with the product. I'm going to do an updated review on the product soon after we finish switching a few things around inside of it, and we're waiting for them early first quarter. There's a few more changes that'll be done. Once all that's done, I'm going to do an updated review of it because so many people ask about it. But one of the things I like is the simplicity of it managing all the licenses and everything else. So it just... Oh, okay, Autotask is Datto. Okay, I thought Datto bought them. I didn't want to speak out of turn, but okay. Well, I mean, supports open source. So does SolarWinds. They have Linux clients, I think. I don't ever need SolarWinds for Linux clients. I don't manage them that way. Linux you manage differently than Windows. And Windows is a pain to manage. That's why we have all these third-party tools to try to wrestle the Windows beast that doesn't want to be tamed because Microsoft doesn't like other third parties doing it. Matter of fact, I foresee in the future at some point where Microsoft gets more into their own RMM game at some point because then it would probably work smoother. I don't know if they're going to, but obviously managing patches for Windows and the software and the antivirus and everything on there is a pain in the butt. That's why no one likes your RMM tool, and it's not the RMM tool. Everyone hates it, but you've given these people an impossible task to wrestle the Windows beast. So I don't know what the future holds for it. I think at some point it'll morph into Windows managing Windows. Like you'll have some type of Azure portal that'll manage all of your Azure updates on your Azure-based Windows system subscriptions and everything else. So yeah, Microsoft does have Intune that's RMM-ish, but I haven't used it. I've heard from people it's not ready for prime time, that it's still overly complicated, and in some ways doesn't have the features some of the RMMs have. So it's still not there, but maybe it will get there. So hard to say. We're keeping an eye on it, so. SCCM can manage it. Yeah, there's different tools. There's a handful of patching tools out there. When will Linux have that type of management tools? For what? What type of management tools? You manage Linux with Ansible is one of them. I have a couple of videos on that. Intune is stupidly complicated for what it does. That's something, you're not the first person that said that, and that's one of the reasons I've never dove into it. I started looking at the Azure Sentinel system, and the same thing. I'm like, why? Some of this seems overly complex to do it. So, yeah, so SolarWinds, probably for the smaller MSP. I will admit there are things you can do differently if you go to ConnectWise and integrate the entire, everything that ConnectWise can integrate into one giant suite and automate stuff. But I don't know. We're not there. That's not what we're doing right now. Most of my company's money is from special project. MSP is a piece of what we do. Majority of our money is from special projects. That's our bottom line. That's where the margin is for us, is companies contracting us to do specialized projects and deployments and design them. Usually working with the internal IT teams of other companies, because those sales are nice. Granted, people are clamoring for recurring revenue from MSP, blah, 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 which is nice. Don't get me wrong. That's why we also like that aspect of the business. But special projects are still where my mainstay of my money comes from. Oh, I don't know. I've never felt the need. You generally stand up Linux machines, put them in unattended upgrade mode, and run with them, and then use some Ansible scripts or Zabbix. I even have Zabbix monitoring my Linux systems, and I think I can even pull that up. There we go. So here's my Linux servers. I know the font's small, but you get the idea. Everything's okay. I can go to, let's go to the graphs on this, because people love graphs. They get people going. They're all excited. What graph can we select? Let's see the CPU jumps or CPU load on here for the last month on Invoice Ninja. Oh, here's an update I loaded. Can you tell? I updated it a couple times, so there's a couple speaks. Yep, it's not overloaded. All right. What about this month? This year? Oh, let's look at utilization. There we go. Yep, it's sitting there idling. Let's switch to another host. What about my forum server? Let's go the last month or previous week. Yep, you guys are almost hitting on my forums here. Hey, look, I loaded an update, compiled some stuff. 0.14. It's just no big deal there. So I use Zabbix to monitor. This is my dashboard for my office, but there's other dashboards for other things that we can pull up for clients, for example, if I need to but we don't monitor. We don't have a ton of them for infrastructure. It does have notices for doing things like this. So items enabled, it's got different checks it's running, hard drive space checks. It can send me notices and all that. It also babysits my FreeNAS boxes. Here's the FreeNAS tank, FreeNAS dozer. Here's the Zabbix server itself. Here's just for the hell of it, I threw my home pfSense in the mix. Here's the other pfSense, the one that's here. So home and this one. So I hope that answers the question. I don't know what else do you want to monitor. That wouldn't work in that scenario. Am I ever not busy? No, I don't know how not to not be. I always have something to do. And if I find gaps in them, that's why I'm making videos. So if you see me making a lot of videos, it's because I'm not as busy. What hypervisor is most commonly used to host VPS services? I don't know. I guess it depends where. If you use Amazon, it's Zen. So hopefully that helps you. Are you using a standard output from a DVR? Not at all. You're seeing the DVR you're seeing behind me is Chromecasted from Kyle's computer right now. When can we see the actual hardware used for your in-house servers? When you go to check out my rack video, you can go see it. I don't think I've changed much. I still run old R710s. I've never bothered updating them. Let's see. I want to restrict one of my 3 LANs using VPN on pfSense with only allowing NAT to the VPN interface be a good solution to stopping the LAN failing over to another gateway. I have a type in kill switch pfSense in the search for my videos and you'll find it. No, we don't have any of those G4 bullet cameras that may or may not exist. Still running R710s. Yeah. You're seeing this over here in Zabbix. One of the things I just want to point out, and let's pull up anything. I don't know, even the most, here, this will be the busiest one. Let me switch over to the graphs. Whoops. You get the dashboard. I'll switch to it in a second. You know what? This is probably at least one of them that's going to show some usage. Some. There we go. This is our most heavily used system. This is our self-hosted Screen Connect that manages the remote. And you can see the load averages here are sadly low. This system just idles all day. That's how this system works. Matter of fact, let's actually look at the infrastructure here. Oh, hold on, I gotta log in. We're logging to my infrastructure here. And hold on, servers, cool. All right, here's my infrastructure from the virtual. I have a video on the physical. It hasn't changed. So I have 52 of 80 CPUs in use, 4 users, pending tasks. We've got 22 terabytes free of storage. And if we go here to the, let's see, what are we going to do? Look at the hosts. And I don't know, last week, my utilization of my server is, we're peaking out in the few percent mark once you average it out like that. This is one of them. This is why I haven't replaced the servers. Someone's going to point out that they're old. They sure are. They sure are old. And they work. And they're redundant. And I have a third one because I could move our entire company can run off our lab server is faster than our main server. But I just haven't brought myself to spend money on all this. This one was used more. 9% usage. Wow. Because we don't run Windows, we don't need horsepower. That's what I'm trying to tell you, I think. If I were to run Windows, these numbers would be very, very different. So hopefully that is helpful. No, the R710 does not run the forum. The forum runs in DigitalOcean. I don't know if I'll do one for Wi-Fi and radius authentication with pfSense. I might at some point. It's kind of a headache. I've set it up for a client a long time ago, and I didn't like it. But I never did a video on it, so it might be something interesting. Let's see. One of the R710 says T1 Proxmox. Yeah, Proxmox is good too. I got no complaints about Proxmox. We run XCP-NG, but you can definitely run Proxmox. I do have a 14-inch laptop with 1080. That would be correct. It's not scaled. It's straight up 1080. Yes, my external storage is FreeNAS running NFS. Yeah, I'm not mining enough cryptocurrency. That's why those CPUs are idling. You're probably correct. Do I use my own hardware for... There's very different scenarios where I host for clients. They will get a cloud-hosted instance. Depends on the critical nature of the app. If they have something critical and it's got to be hosted, it's going to be hosted at it'll be like co-load in a data center or hosted in Azure or AWS. That's a whole different... just curious if you still run SolarWinds RMM versus SolarWinds Engine. SolarWinds RMM. So, and what PSA? No PSA right now. We just use Invoice Ninja and automated billing through that. How do I typically learn a new technology? Videos, reading. What's your process for getting grips of something new? RTFM, top to bottom. And I also spend time in the forums. I will read all the documentation I can on something. I will watch a video last. I create videos, but I don't always watch a ton of them to new product, with some exception. I mean, sometimes if someone has a really good video on it, I just find it rare. If I find a technology such as, let's talk about Wazoo, when I started learning Wazoo and OSEC and Security Onion, I found 0 good videos on the topic. I learned all of it through documentation and forums. That's mostly where I'm going to get my open source knowledge from. It is currently 6:08 p.m. I am in Eastern Standard Time. FreeNAS connected to XCP-NG is through 10 gigabit. If you watch the My Rack video that is in there, I have a 10 gig UniFi switch that connects I have a storage SAN network that connects 2 FreeNASs and 3 XCP-NG servers to it. The FreeNASs are redundant and copied to each other. They're not HA, that's a different thing, but the data is copied and replicated. Each of the XCP-NG servers, except for the lab, does have their own local storage as well. That allows me to run storage on each one of them. And, this has come up before, but for those wondering, I can show you what it looks like. Like even our backups, these are what the Delta backups look like. So right here, Invoice Ninja Delta backup, and it's backed up on a regular basis. And you can see like it backed up on the hour. So at 6 p.m. my time, which is right now, you can see at the top here, it took 13 seconds to back up. It just says a few seconds, which is 9 seconds to back up. And it does differentials every hour, so we can, if I ever had a catastrophic RAID array failure, I could then go and restore this backup, and at worst, depending on how many minutes after the hour it failed, I would only lose that much potential data in any of the systems that are set to be regular Delta backups. This is one of the other things that people ask about why I'm using XCP-NG with Zen Orchestra, because they're like, why aren't you using Datto and Veeam and everything else? I'm like, because those aren't needed anymore once you put these stacks in. You ask like, how do you get 2 servers and redundancy? Well, the way Datto works, and not that I'm not knocking their product at all, don't get me wrong, I think they got a cool stack. And a couple of our companies do very similar. You have the server, it replicates, Datto replicates the data over to the server. The server is capable of running said virtual machine over here. Main machine dies, Datto goes, hey, that's dead, and let's spin this back up and have your server running back on our latest copy we have over here. You can do the same thing with XCP-NG. You get 2 servers, you say replicate to that server, and you set it up as a process, and whatever amount of time frame you need, for example, us on the hour, takes 13 seconds in every hour worth of data that gets created, takes 13 seconds to copy the data over for a snapshot of it. So that's one of the reasons I like the whole XCP-NG combined with Zen Orchestra. You can build these, and we've built these for our clients. This is the same thing that we deploy for them for the same reasons, and it's all open source. And you can buy the subscription fee for Zen Orchestra, so it'll be maintained and updated automatically for $70 a month. That's it. That's our cost. And obviously it can get cheaper with quantity, and then you forward that on to the client for maintaining that infrastructure and keeping an eye on it. I have no idea about Proxmox not seeing NICs. That is not something I'm familiar. I don't use Proxmox, so I don't know. But it's Linux-based, so it should be supporting whatever NIC as long as it's running fine. As long as it's running fine with Linux, as long as it's a supported NIC. Do you donate your CPU since it's idling so much? No. Did you... Oh, yeah. I still use SPREED to read faster. I think I have a video on it from 2 or 3 years ago. I could probably do an updated one. Maybe I need to bring more attention to that project. I still like that for reading. That's a cool project. I still use it. It's my favorite way. This is me drinking coffee in the morning reading, as I don't have to move. I got my hands cold around my coffee, and I have the words flying across the screen super, super fast with it, so I can just sit in one spot and read. I still use it. Oh, with all my hate on Windows servers, I know why you prefer Synology instead of Milestone or XProtect. Yeah, it's not really hate. I make a living off Windows servers. It's like I can complain about Outlook all day long, but we make enough money on Outlook to pay for my Tesla. I won't lie. Like I should like get some stupid license plate on my Tesla, not about electricity, but like funded by Outlook. What is my retention rate? I don't know how to measure it. So I can't be I seem to remember a lot, but I have no subjective way to actually tell you that. Yes, the support through Zen Orchestra is outstanding. I won't lie, they are great. Yeah, don't connect them over wireless. You do want to do everything in XCP&G. Don't connect to wireless. Build it over hard lines for the least amount of headache. Wireless is good. Wireless is fast. Wireless is probably not ideal for that. That might be a fun video. Can I do wireless with my virtual machines? What will happen? Watch this video and find out. I like Hover. I have no affiliate link or offer for them, but we like Hover. Hover is a great company. They have been a joy to work with, and they don't have a crappy interface. Those are my two things. They're not a crappy company without a crappy interface, without a lot of bad policies. So, yes, what do you call it? Just go to hover.com. We've bought a lot of domains from. Matter of fact, a lot of people ask us that are afraid because of bad incidents they had with previous IT companies, so they don't want to give up their domain or put it in someone else's name. We recommend they set up a Hover account with 2FA, and Hover's been on the 2FA game for a long time, so that's definitely great. Yeah, GoDaddy's a pain in the butt. I'm not a fan of GoDaddy. Oh, smash the like button. I see someone making the like thing face. So, absolutely, that'd be great. There's 300 people watching, so why not smash the like button? I do have to leave soon because I have to go make sure my son's doing his homework. So somewhere in between, I should do a video day in the life because I think people have asked, but I do have a whole process procedure for how I do things and what my life is. I'm fairly open about it. But, you know, I wake up every morning at 5, then I have my coffee, then I wake my son up at 6:20 to get him out the door by 6:40, hopefully, to take him to school. And then I drop him off at school, then I come to work, and then I go pick him up at school at 2 o'clock, and then I come back, and then I come here and do some more work, and then I go back at around 6 to 7 to make sure he's doing his homework and get him moving along to whatever it is he's supposed to be doing. And then from there, maybe I'll do some reading, typing, replying to things and stuff like that. But maybe people want to, maybe I'll film kind of what my day is like and put that together. I actually started a video like that, and I deleted it all as I thought it wouldn't be interesting. Maybe there is an interest in it. You guys tell me if I should document like what I actually functionally do here. So yeah. Kids are still doing homework? No, my son is not if he can avoid it. I don't want to say, I've tried to avoid too many of these over-the-top cliche YouTubers and things like that. I won't lie. There was, I will make sure you guys aren't watching so I can pull this up because you're going to laugh when you see it. I didn't tweet this out, but I'll share it with you guys here because I get it. I don't have any ill will towards it, but I did laugh seeing this. Oh, wow, it's just still going. Where'd it go? There we go. Oh, that would still expose. Oh, let me download it. There we go. Now I can close this. Downloads. There we go. Now we can laugh. And I know I get tagged in things like this. I didn't retweet this or anything. But there are, I think Linus is still funny. And I look at Linus as an entertainer. He pioneered a lot of the big YouTube stuff, but I know there's a lot of people that think his content is not as quantitated in the same way his sponsors are. And I've tried to avoid some of this, but I know people get angry when I say things like, hey, check out some of our affiliates and stuff like that. But I mean, it takes a lot of time, and this is still part of a business process for us. I like the jobs we get from it, but it does take a lot of my time to do this, and my return on investment of giving all this out is you having to spend just a few moments of your time listening to me shill out some type of affiliate link and saying, hey, talk to this company, go ahead and use this service. And I try to pick services I think are aligned with my values as a company, that maybe a service you will use. And someone did call me out that I think is funny, but I have an answer for this. PIA, and I was told I was overly harsh with my view, in my jaded view of the whole VPN industry. And but someone says, you have this view of you shouldn't use VPNs, but you have an affiliate link. I'm like, yes, because some people will use it despite, they don't agree with me. They think I'm wrong. Therefore, they will still use, if you're going to use a link anyways to sign up for it, why not use my affiliate link? That's all. So I do have affiliate links to that company. And I think there's use cases for a VPN. I'm going to do a follow-up video on that of when you should use a VPN and what it does do and what it doesn't do. I just hate the overhyped marketing that many of these companies have that try to pretend that they're all about your privacy. As a business owner, what was your favorite proud moments as a business owner that you thought would never happen? I don't know. I don't think a lot about that. So I think a more honest answer that you get out of people is I don't know. Because a lot of business owners, they feel as though they put this microphone in their face and what's your secret to success? And it's not always something, as a business owner, you're not keeping all of that in your mind all the time and have a ready to go quote, but you feel compelled to answer because you've been put on the spot. And I'm a person who likes saying I don't know. Because I feel I'd rather be honest than make up something of like, hey, it's when I got this certain accolade or certain thing. I am happy that I have and proud that I have employees that seem to like coming to work, or at least they pretend to. So that makes me happy. I like hearing from many people about that my YouTube videos help them out, or that my business videos and my sharing of knowledge help them in some way. Those things are very proud moments for me. I don't know that I have a proudest because I've never put a lot of thought to look at accolades or things that happen. Exciting things that have happened though, like the fact that Huntress has invited me out to be on their webinar. That's pretty exciting. So is that exactly a business moment or is it a media accomplishment? They're all blended together to me. So it's not an easy answer for me. So my honest answer is I don't know. So hopefully that helps. Or maybe it didn't and you're mad now. I don't know. I hope not. I can't take his voice over his face. NordVPN. NordVPN was over the top with their marketing. I avoided them. They kept wanting to throw money at me, and I did avoid NordVPN because of that. I just didn't. I looked at their marketing and turned them down. They wanted to actually buy spots, and I wouldn't sell. How many people directly work for me? Currently, there are like 7 direct people right at the moment. The rest are contractors. We use a lot of contractors for projects. That's why I say projecting is our money, and project management and using contractors as needed to make project management work. That's where I make that source a lot of the money comes from. That's why we don't need to have a ton of people. In FreeNAS, what do you think the best way to do a file backup, like someone deleted a file to get it back? You should be doing snapshots. And then in addition to said snapshots of your PFSense, I have a whole video on fighting ransomware with snapshots. You should have offline backups, maybe kept via an S3 storage bucket or Backblaze or wherever offsite you want. Do you use FreeNAS to replicate between FreeNAS systems? I use ZFS to replicate between the two FreeNASs here, but offsite, I have another FreeNAS at home, and that, other places, I use SyncThing for all that replication. So SyncThing does a great job for my basic file. Like if I edit, and all those documents are not super secret. I don't keep any client stuff in there. For example, I have like my check register document and some of the basics on there, stuff that I don't want public, but I also, it's not top secret. My laptop's encrypted. When it opens up, it unencrypts, and SyncThing turns on, and SyncThing goes, hey, look, there's changes in these files that you did on your desktop, or you made the changes on your laptop, and it syncs and propagates between all the locations. I love SyncThing for that reason. It just works really, really well for us. If when you retire, would you pass your company off to your kids or someone else? My kids aren't into this. Maybe my son will be. He's 13. I don't know. My daughter is on her way to be a doctor. So unlikely my daughter will take an interest in this. Maybe she'll decide not to be a doctor and take an interest. I don't know. It is not my pressure to do that, so I'm not concerned if I retire or leave or sell. It would seem most likely that an employee working for me would take over the company, and if they were not interested, the selling it to another company would be a thing. But I don't know. I don't have any retirement plans. I'm way too young for that. All right, well, I am going to take off. So what's the final questions we have here? And smash the like button. I got to, be cheesy for a second here. If I set up a FreeNAS on a 1 gig network, do you think that would be fast enough for the primary storage for the VMs? Yes, it's actually plenty. You can get quite a bit done with a 1 gig link. It's actually, 1 gig link is, quite fast. So Pop! OS encrypted by default, I think so. I always say yes to it. I think the default, you have to say no when you're next in yesing. You have to say no if you don't want to encrypt it. But yes, essentially encrypted by default, because I guess you would say yes because the default is encrypted. Yeah, once you go 10 gig, it's that much better. And you can bond together multiple 1 gig links in FreeNAS and XCP-ng to create a bonded network for aggregating that together. You can bond 10 gigs together for even faster. So, so hopefully that helps. All right, well, I got to go, like I said, get my son doing homework. I have to finish setting up my Pixel. I'm going to do that at home. So that's going to be fun. I'll do, that might be a fun video because I want to test the video and recording capabilities of the Pixel. So if I do the day in the life video on the Pixel, by the way, one of the things about the Pixel, I will show this really quick because this is the picture quality on it. Please note, that camera is over there is still further away. We're going to take this, we're going to do this, make sure it backs up. Getting my photos. What is it doing? It's thinking because it's the first time it's synced. So then we're going to go open this up. And then I'll pull it up once it gets to the page. Oh, are they not backing up? Oh, it hasn't finished syncing. Oh, well, I'll show it later. It's just, it's crazy. I can probably show it like this. Is it not tilting? Oh, go phone, go. Problem with new phones, you got to get all the settings right. By the way, too, look how reflective it is. I don't know if I'm a fan of that or not. Somehow auto rotate's turned off. That's the problem. Look how crazy wide that is. I mean, you can see everything with it. This phone is super wide. So that's definitely kind of cool. All right. Yeah, it's still, this is doing a syncing thing, and I'm going to play with that later. Anyways, anything else for the good of the class before I wander off here? Do you plan on getting the 6K software update for the Tesla? No, because it's now 7K. It is a fingerprint magnet. You are not wrong. But D-Brand has some new cases for it. I might get one of the D-Brand ones. So, I have never done RELP in pfSense. 7K is the upgrade for the full self-driving on Tesla. Hey, thank you very much, Grayson, for the $5 donation. It is much appreciated. I'd buy the 7K software update. I should set up a, maybe I'll set up a donation for Tom. Like, if you guys want me to do it, if you throw money at me, I'll do it. I just don't really, I don't know. I've looked at it. I'm going to do a video on it, and I have a series of Tesla videos I've been working on. I got a lot of clips to put together. The problem is, because I want to do it in the car, not just sitting in front of the camera, I've been collecting all the video, and I have to edit it all, and it's been a challenge because I've been so busy. Next hot sauce video. I might do one soon. We were talking about that today. We should start out Vlog Thursday with hot sauce. I thought that might be a fun thing to do, so I can then regularly do them. Because almost every week we get new hot sauces, and I have enough backlog of them for weeks we don't that I can start going through them. I don't know, just talk about them as part of the beginning of the vlog. Because it seems like people join in the vlog a little bit later, and a lot of people, I know not everyone, it's a niche of people who care about the hot sauces. So if I start out talking about hot sauces, by the time everyone gets there, maybe I will move on to tech topics. My wife likes driving the Tesla, so you're right. I can tell her to drive it. So no one's stopping you. Sounds like the birth of biz. So I do watch some of the car YouTube channels, and I'm fascinated with the ones that have been giving behind the scenes about how much money they make. It's insane. I mean, you wonder how they buy all these supercars. The ad revenue on a video about cars is much, much higher than ones about pfSense. Don't worry, not a career change for me, but it's something I did find interesting. Financial videos and car videos seem to have a really, really good payout in terms of their ad buy. And it's because of the market and the people who watch car videos buy car accessories. There's a lot of car accessory ads on YouTube, so there's a better ad buy for them. So maybe I'll do some more car videos, at least more Tesla ones, because it's the only car I'm really into right now. Motorcycle videos. There are a few motorcycle videos on my personal channel. I don't know. I thought about moto vlogging. I do ride my motorcycles a lot. But yeah. Yeah, I'm going to dive deep into the engineering of the Tesla. So when I say I'm going to do another follow-up review, I'm going to dive into talking about the electrical efficiencies of conversion of each one. So I've spent a ton of time, once again, RTFM, reading manuals, spending time in forums, and diving deep into the way the systems in the Tesla work, because I wanted to know in detail how those systems work. So I'm going to dive into that. So Tesla pen testing, I happen to be pseudo friends with the guy who actually runs Car Hacking Village, and he has held my Tesla card, and we did have a discussion about Tesla hacking. He's a really cool guy. His name's Justin. So yeah, bricking a Tesla is definitely a fear. So that's also why we're going to dive into it at some point in time. I would like to with him, because he does pen testing on cars for a living. So he's actually way more experienced at it me, and people pay him and give him Teslas to do this with that are bought just for that. I'd love to see how much of it I can film, but that's a different type of challenge, because so much of he's being paid as a person working for a company to do it. I don't know that they would let me bring cameras in and talk about any of it. I don't even know what level I can talk about it. And you can't find anything about Justin online. Sorry, Justin is a ghost on purpose. He's a really cool guy, though. They have stolen Teslas in Sweden. Look up the story on Tesla at one of the YouTube channels, and they just talked about a stolen Tesla and how it got stolen. And I didn't know this. Tesla has, I think they said, a 90% recovery rate. So that is really interesting. So, all right, I am off, and that's it. Thanks, guys. Yeah, Rich Rebuilds Fixes Teslas. He's awesome. Follow his channel. You will learn a great deal about the Tesla. Rich is awesome. Thanks.